After a long walk along the beach, I sit down on a boulder and look out at the sea change color, and the sky turn from a flat impersonal blue to a shredded orange blistered with yellow and red. Boats with their sails on fire move across the shimmering waters and dissolve out of view. The sea hardens to dark steel. The sky is powdered with rust, and a flock of sandpipers swirls in and settles on the water's edge, only to be ruffled into flight as a buffalo with sweeping horns staggers down the beach, along with two young men chatting loudly. Their words are tossed into the air by a wind that swims through the gathering dusk. I can smell the breath of the night as it crawls in on its belly over the hump of the hill. It reeks of dead fish, seaweed, and salt-drenched sand. That's what's so strange about the past and the present. That's what's so strange about time. It has a way of slipping through the fingers. Or is it that we slip through time? I can't tell the difference anymore. Maybe I could never tell the difference. I remember as a child getting confused. One moment I was playing out on the sand, and the next I was sleeping in the shade of a coconut palm. And then again, when I opened my eyes, I was eating mashed dal, rice, and crispy pieces of fish from my mother's hands. I slipped in and out of dreams so quickly that I sometimes couldn't tell whether I was awake or asleep. "Are you awake or asleep?" Mother would ask, shaking me. "I can't tell because your eyes are open. You scare me. Cedric, maybe we should show this boy to a doctor." Ah, that's a family habit, Monica. It's in our blood. The great Matthew did just that. My father didn't sound like he was joking. He sounded dead serious. This is not about our great-grandfather, Ani. It's about Ani. I don't want him to see anything more than what you and I can see, Mother said emphatically. There's enough to see in the real world, Cedric. He needs to see a doctor to put him right. And so we did the rounds of doctors, fathers staying home most of the time. When he was home, he loved staying home. When he was away at sea, we never saw him for months. Mother became obsessed about me being there with my eyes open. She started slipping pellets of opium into my mouth, knocking me out, and I was pushed into a haze of timelessness. One day I fell asleep with my eyes open in class. The teacher was scared out of her mind and didn't know what to do. The principal summoned Mother and she took me home. Finally, halfway up a coconut palm one day, I lost my footing and slammed onto the mud below. They found me an hour or so later, blood trickling from a gash on the back of my head. 3 stitches and all was well. In fact, I stopped sleeping with my eyes open. "Thank God you are normal now," said Mother. "Who knows, the next time you have a fall, you'll probably wake up a genius." But there was nothing prophetic about that statement of hers. There was no hope of me becoming a genius. I was just an ordinary fellow who lived in a world of his own, who had no friends, who was so self-conscious about talking to girls that he would sometimes even wet his pants with fright. Time plays with memory. Memory plays with time. Time and memory dissolve into the dark when I wake up at night. Often, I would be awake and just lie there in bed, allowing time and memory to play hide and seek. That kept me awake at night. Mother always slept well. She would sink into such a deep stupor that nothing could shake her out of it. Her snore would start softly and steadily get louder, changing as it went along from a hiss to a croak. At night, It seemed as if her bedroom was a pool filled with frogs.
Okay, so you seem to take the reader into the novel through the eyes of your main character, which is Arnold. Is that how you intended it, or?
No, yes, we're talking about intentions and whether Ani in fact is the main character.
Is the main voice.
Main voice, yeah. See, in terms of intentions, yes, it was my intention to take a narrative forward through the voices of my characters. Now, Ani, that's where the novel starts off, through the words of Ani, actually is one of the main characters. There are many main characters. In fact, even some of the subsidiary characters, they are also main in a certain way. Because I feel the novel lives because of its great variety of characters and experiences. So that was what my intention is, to create this width and this length, this breadth, this depth, this height of experience and the complexities of these experiences each character brings to the story. And this is just a jhalak, as you would say, of what Ani's life was like. Very, very deep, very complex, very drifting in his thoughts and his memories.
And so when you say this is just one of the many voices in the novel,
Yeah.
how do the characters interplay with each other?
Yeah, the characters, you see, it's like this. What I've tried to do is take the narrative forward through the voice of a character. Like, say, for example, in this section, I've started with Ani talking. So you see the world through Ani's eyes, and when his life intersects with another character's life, then you begin to see the world through the other character's eyes. So it's like a relay race that is happening, okay? A very complex relay race, and the baton is being passed from person to person, okay? In the same way, the story is propelled forwards through each character's accounts. So in no way are the reader, for that matter, no way is the reader confused. The reader is very clear because the reader realizes, okay, this is Ani talking. Ani has a certain way of talking. Ani's language is a certain type of language. Ani's attitude is a certain type of attitude. And then there's Melissa later on who we'll come across, and then there's Chrissy, and then there's Luke. And all these characters have their way of talking, their life, but in a way they all take the same story forward, giving it their dimension.
So then what would you say the main theme of the novel is?
Well, the main theme of the novel is the lives of people who live on the fringes. Lives of people who don't make the front page in a newspaper or page 3 or any page in a newspaper. Lives of people you probably met in the street and you'd never know how complex and how beautiful and how exaggerated sometimes their lives are. You never know that. So this is a story about ordinary people who have come from various parts of the world, or various parts of our country for that matter. And through history and circumstance, their paths cross. And it's where their paths cross, just where their paths cross, are the main points, those points of epiphany, the points of discovery, the points of drama in the story. It's actually where different views meet. They set off sparks, they set off colors or rainbows, thunderstorms, whatever. Yeah? So that's what the story is about. The interplay of the dreams, hopes, challenges, views of life of ordinary people. It doesn't mean it's a boring novel like in the Shoyu. There's a lot of intensity and a lot of feeling in the life of a so-called ordinary person. Because under the layers, externally, under all those externals of character, there's a universe. And I've tried to uncover that universe.
Based on what you just read, the introduction to the novel, you've begun with this deep description and then dipped into Ani's memories. And in a sense, you're following this technique of stream of consciousness. And have you employed that through the novel? Is that how you wanted it to be?
Yes, I have employed the technique through the novel, and yes, that's how I want it to be. And why would I want it to be that way? Because this novel, the technique is at a very basic level, it's stream of consciousness. It's not the sort of stream of consciousness in the range of Marcel Proust or James Joyce or Virginia Woolf or any of the others. It is basically a stream of thought that I catch, just like you catch a vein of gold in a rock, and you keep following that vein. And what I've done is I've just followed the veins of a character's thoughts and feelings and whatever. Why? Because that is the best way to be able to take the reader into the life of a person. If you sit there and pontificate and describe what a person is feeling and describe what the circumstances, then what is the novelist? The novelist is a magician, is a puppeteer. I'm not a puppeteer. What am I? I'm a storyteller. So I want to be able to pull my readers into the minds, the hearts, the lives, the souls, the tragedies, the comedies of my characters. And the only way I can do that is to help them catch that vein of gold in the subconscious and take them flowing along. It's all my fiction. All my fiction. Walking Through Fire, Over the Edge, many of my other, even my children's novel, The Legend of Creaky, I use the same technique. Because it's a very easy and a very simple and a very non-confrontational way of taking a reader into a character and helping them understand. After all, we shouldn't take too many things for granted with our readers. We should be able to take them along in a way that they are comfortable.
So, in your use of this technique of stream of consciousness, have there been any other authors who've influenced you? Or you've read in the past and sort of felt excited by it?
You see, I've always, I dropped a few names just now, and I've read all of them very extensively. Like, I wouldn't say that, I've been really influenced by Joyce, but most definitely I loved Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man. Now, of course, my technique is not as fabulous or as complicated and as sensitive as Joyce's, but yes, it has been inspired in a way by the way Joyce has written, or Marcel Proust, or any of the others. Virginia Woolf, of course, her stream of consciousness was much more feminine. Therefore, there was greater complexities in her detail. But yes, all of these people and the technique at large has really inspired me.
What is it that you want the reader to take away from this novel?
I want to help the reader to take away from the novel the sense of wonder in ordinary things. And how in so-called ordinary person's life is actually made up of so many wondrous moments of discovery, of curiosity, and that life is not necessarily panoramic. Life is not necessarily, as the old days, 70 mm or Toreo, whatever it is. The wonder of life is in simple things, and that's what the novel's talking about. The sheer wonder and the sheer curiosity of little things, of experiences, and how for you and me it may not be a tragedy, but for them it's a huge tragedy. Of Chrissy wondering whether her son Luke is actually gay. And what are her anxieties over it? You and I may be blasé about it, but for Chrissy it's very important. And Chrissy's friend, his son Xavier, who's absolutely gay and in the face, how did his father, who's very, very straight and old-fashioned, how does he take it? So that's what I've tried to do.